Oh,
Planetary.
sorry. Hang on.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for giving up a chunk of your Friday evening to join us. We have had quite a few people that can't join us live because people do seem to be quite busy on a Friday. But for those of you who are here live with us, thank you for joining. And also hello to those who are watching the recording. So it's now almost 3 weeks since our Big Heart event. Can't believe that time's gone so quickly. And memories have perhaps faded, as they always do. But tonight we want to reconnect to that beautiful energy we generated on the 5th of November and allow it to nourish us once again. So I'm going to start with a brief introduction, and to do that, I will share some slides. So let me just do that. Sorry. Bear with me a moment. Okay. Is that coming up okay, Louise? I'm just checking in with you. Does that...
Yes, that looks really good. Yeah.
Slide. Okay. All right. So, in a nutshell, the main purpose of our Big Heart event was to introduce our audience, you, to the central role of the heart, which we did through a series of presentations looking at different aspects of the heart. We also wanted to connect like-minded, like-hearted people and start some conversations. Tonight, our aim is to embed some of those ideas we presented. And we also want to explore where you go with this information, what you do with it. Is there a way you can use some of what you've learnt to live in a more heart-centered way? We believe so, and therefore we'll be providing some practical pointers. We'll also be discussing the Awakening Heart Collective, which is at the very earliest stage of its life. And right now, we don't know exactly how it will flower and unfold. Our mission is to share information about the heart and connect those people who wish to learn and explore. And we're trusting and allowing our hearts to lead the way. So this evening, we'll start with 3 short presentations of about 10 to 15 minutes each. The first will be from me on heart connection for planetary healing. The second from Peter and Claire on heart connection for relationship healing. And then the third and final from Louise on heart connection for personal healing. We'll then have time for questions, comments, and for an interactive group discussion to explore how all of this can work in our lives. So moving straight on, in order to keep us to time, I'm going to begin by considering the role of heart connection for planetary healing. Our planet and its inhabitants, whether that's the people, the animals, the plants, are in great need of support and healing right now. And you really don't need me to tell you this. Just turn on the news and you'll see all the evidence you need. Our environment, our whole planet is sick. Our people are sick. Chronic disease rates continue to rise, and often, sadly, there's no cure, despite the so-called advanced medical care we have in the West. Our soils, and consequently our food, is nutritionally depleted. We still maltreat many of our animals. So many young people are anxious and depressed, and people of all ages are suffering with mental health problems. And there's still so much war. Is anything getting better? Sometimes it really seems like it's not. So what is at the root of this? because there is one thing at the root of it all, and that is disconnection. It is disconnection that is the common factor linking all of our world problems. Disconnection from nature, disconnection from others, disconnection from ourselves, and in particular, disconnection from spirit. And it is only when our hearts are closed that we find ourselves so disconnected. Remember my presentation from Big Heart. Our heart is our master connector. So when it is closed, disconnection is the result. Sometimes we close our hearts because we just can't cope with life. But that only feeds the problem and allows us to continue living this way. However, none of us have hearts that are closed all the time. Certainly no one in this group. So why is it then that things don't seem to be changing? Well, not very quickly anyway. Many people will say it's because our leaders are corrupt. And indeed, many of them are. It can all feel very depressing at times. But before we all get too disheartened, I believe something is changing, and on a scale beyond our imagination. Things are changing beyond the level of our individual selves, beyond our communities, beyond our countries with their corrupt leaders, beyond the level of our planet even. Change is happening on a spiritual level, and as such, it is encompassing all those lower levels. In fact, it is encompassing everything we know. Humanity is undergoing the greatest evolution of consciousness that has ever occurred. In the words of contemporary philosopher and activist Ashok Gangadine, perhaps the single most powerful event facing humanity today is a great awakening on a planetary scale that has been millennia in the making. And many mystics, seers, visionaries, futurists, and philosophers have talked about this time of great change and of human consciousness evolving at this time. Now, in case you weren't already feeling this, although I'm sure you are, our hearts have a crucial and essential role to play in all of this. Our hearts are calling out for us at this time, imploring us to wake up and take notice. Sometimes the heart's messages are obvious, and sometimes they're more hidden. Sometimes they're hidden in our language. Let's go back to that word corrupt or corruption from earlier. In Latin, cor means heart, and rupture is to break. Corruption, therefore, speaks to us of a broken heart. But even if we come to see this and understand how corruption destroys our very core, what can we do about it? Our leaders don't seem to want to listen. Well, the simple truth is that it has to start with us. What we see out there on the global political stage is a reflection of what lies within us as a collective. And right now, there is a lot of disconnection within us. A lot of healing is required, and it must take place on an individual level first, or at least at the same time. If we're protecting ourselves from pain and our hearts are defended and closed, we must give attention to that. We have to focus on healing ourselves so that we're better able to support the healing of others and our world. The literal meaning of healing is to become whole. Although from a deeper spiritual perspective, I would say that wholeness is always our true nature. It's just that we've forgotten this. You could then say that healing is a process of remembering our wholeness, coming back to our wholeness. And so in healing ourselves, we need to wake up from this false illusion of disconnection and remind ourselves of our inherent and complete connectedness. And we can do that by seeking out connection in all areas of our lives. The way that we're going to heal ourselves and heal our planet is by reconnecting. And that may be reconnecting to others, sharing more connected time with those that we love. It might be reconnecting to nature in all sorts of ways, whether getting out into the garden, going for walks, or even just sitting with our indoor plants and looking at them, really looking at them and appreciating them. It might be spending more time with animals, either our own pets or animals that we see on a farm or whatever else. It may be reconnecting to nature in another way. It might be actually getting our feet on the earth, taking our shoes off, grounding, really connecting with Mother Earth. It might be reconnecting to our emotions, because when our hearts are defended, then we tend to shut off from those painful emotions. Sometimes that is the only way we can cope in difficult situations, but if we cut off from our emotions over the longer term, then we become very disconnected to the truth of who we are. And it may be about reconnecting to the deepest essence of ourselves, our spirit, and our spirit that is a part of universal spirit. So it may be building a relationship with spirit. And we do that in many ways. It can be through meditation, or if we have a religious faith, it might be going to the church, a mosque, or anything else that fits with our own religion. So there are many, many ways that we reconnect. But I believe that this is the key to our own healing and ultimately to healing our world. So I would say, make it your mission to seek out and connect. Seek out connection everywhere. And I promise you, if you do this, you will see things transform around you. So I just wanted to give you a very brief story, personal story, that happened to me just the weekend after Big Heart. And it's a very simple story, and I know many of you will have been in similar situations. But I had a reunion planned with my university friends up in Wales. And the reason we were getting together at this time is because we are all turning 50 this year. And so we were celebrating. Now, we don't see each other that often. I've probably seen them all around about a year or two ago, depending on which friend, but we don't connect all that often. So we were all very excited as we were making our way to this weekend in Wales. Now, when we all arrived, there was the usual laughter, banter, you know, how you fall back into those old patterns. We've known each other over 30 years, so a long time. And so you do tend to fall back into those old roles, those old characters that you used to play. And it was a lot of fun. However, as we were having conversations on that first evening, I did start to notice how I started to really focus on the differences between us. I started to notice, as we were talking about world issues and political things, how I had different views from not all, but some of my friends. And as we were talking about what we'd been doing in the last couple of years and where our careers had been heading, again, I noticed that a lot of the things about their lives are very different to mine. And although I had a really fun evening, when I went to bed that night, as I was lying there, getting ready to drift off into sleep, I found myself feeling quite disconnected from my friends, even though I love them dearly. I was thinking about all the differences between us. I went to sleep with that on my mind and woke up with it the next day. But then a little bit later, as I did a short heart connection before getting up, it really struck me that I was putting my energy and my thoughts into focusing on the differences between us. Why was I doing that? And I don't think I'm unusual. I think a lot of us, when we connect with people, when we engage in conversations, or when we get together, or even when we are watching the news or things on TV, we're very often thinking about how different we are or where we disagree with people. So I decided in that moment, as I was in my heart space, to change the way I was engaging with my friends, and just to spend the rest of the weekend really focusing on the things that connect us. And there's so much that connects us. We've, as I say, known each other for 30 years. And it was quite amazing, because as soon as I made that decision, something in me shifted, and it felt like the whole energy in the whole group shifted, which it would have done, because my heart was now in a more coherent state. And the rest of the weekend was just full of beautiful, heart-inspired, connecting conversations and moments of real shared bonding. And it was just probably one of my most favorite weekends I've spent with them. I don't believe it would have been if I'd stayed in that state of just noticing where we didn't quite connect. So just by me shifting my mindset, opening my heart and connecting, seemed to change the whole energy. So I just wanted to tell that story, because it's not anything spectacular, and I'm sure you have had very similar experiences many times. But I just want to remind you that just by going into your heart and making that decision to seek out the connections rather than the disconnections and the divisions, and do that not just when you're with people in person, but when you're thinking about other people, when you're seeing people on TV or reading about people. And as I say, if you do this, if you really seek out that connection, you will see things transform around you. This is how we change the world. This is how we allow our heart, our master connector, to lead us in healing the planet. So just before I finish, and it is at the end of my time, I wanted to read you something. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen. And as I read you a quote, this is a quote from a lady called Anadea Judith, who has written a brilliant book. I might have it here. I can't find it now. It's called A Global Heart Awakening. So I'm just going to ask you, as I read this, to, if it feels comfortable, just close your eyes and put a hand over your heart. And just bring your attention into your heart space. And I'll read these words, and hopefully they'll resonate with you. The human drama is reaching its denouement. The great unveiling is approaching, a time when the power structures of the world begin to crumble and people of the heart sing out a new truth. Many voices are joining the chorus. Many feet are walking the path. Many minds are dreaming possibilities for a magnificent future. For beneath the crises that are looming at every level of civilization, the global heart is awakening, beating out a rhythm of a new and glorious dance, calling us to a better way of living. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to hand you over now because Peter and Claire are going to take the stage.